Are you tired of navigating your relationships with endless cycles of misunderstanding, emotional turbulence, and unspoken expectations? Every human heart yearns for connection, and yet so often those very bonds that promise joy become the source of pain. Why is this so? Yogananda reminds us that we often enter relationships looking outward, searching for someone to complete us, to validate us, or to erase our loneliness. Yet two empty vessels cannot fill one another. Two restless hearts cannot give peace. Most people believe love alone is enough, but Yogananda revealed a greater truth. Love without spiritual wisdom is fragile. The foundation of every lasting relationship lies not in another person's perfection, but in the awareness of our own inner divinity. Imagine meeting someone not from the level of need, but from the overflowing abundance of your soul. In that meeting, relationships shift from contract of desire to sanctuaries of divine exchange. True love is not blind. It is awakened vision, the recognition of spirit in another. When you see the soul shining behind personality, every bond becomes sacred. The spiritual science of relationships begins here, not in chasing affection, but in awakening to the eternal source of love within. And when you cultivate this inner harmony, every outer connection mirrors your peace. This is Yogananda's practical wisdom, that relationships are not accidents of circumstance, but classrooms of the soul, each one reflecting your consciousness back to you. When you quarrel with reflection. You forgive, you release your own heart. Thus, the true key to transforming your relationships lies not in waiting for others to change, but in raising your own awareness. Let us now journey deeper into the sacred science, learning how to see beyond superficial bonds, to master inner self, transform every relationship into a pathway of divine joy. Most human bonds are built on the surface, on appearance, on social roles, and fleeting emotions. But Yogananda urges us to look beyond the posture of personality and behold the divine spark within. A spouse is not merely a partner in worldly duties, but fellow traveler toward God. A child is not just a dependent, but a soul entrusted to your love by the divine. Even a stranger carries the same eternal essence as you. When we interact only with the outer mask, our connections remain shallow, prone to ego clashes, jealousy, and fear. But when we see each being as spirit in disguise, love becomes unconditional. Think of sunlight. It falls equally on the saint and the sinner, the king and the beggar. In the same way, true love radiates without preference, because it flows from the soul, not from the ego. This vision is not sentimental, but practical. For when you practice seeing God in others, you naturally dissolve resentment, pride, and possessiveness. You begin to serve rather than demand, to forgive rather than blame. And in this shift, relationships deepen from transactions to transformations. Yogananda said that every soul is seeking happiness because every soul is seeking reunion with God. When you recognize this, you stop expecting others to be the source of your joy. Instead, you learn to share joy, to uplift, to awaken the sleeping divinity in those around you. Such is the foundation of spiritual companionship, a bond where two or more souls walk together toward the same light, supporting one another in the climb, rather than pulling each other down into attachment or conflict. To love in this way is to love with freedom, to see beyond the body and the moods, and to honor the eternal self in all. Every relationship begins with you. If your mind is restless, you will bring restlessness into your interactions. If your heart is insecure, you will demand too much from others. If your spirit is clouded, you will misunderstand their intentions. Yogananda emphasized that self-mastery is the cornerstone of harmonious bonds. Meditation teaches us to calm the waves of anger, desire, and fear that distort our vision. In stillness, you learn to pause before reacting, to respond from clarity instead of impulse. Self-reflection reveals the hidden patterns within, why certain words trigger you, why certain behaviors hurt you. And in that awareness, you gain the power to choose peace. Detachment does not mean coldness. It means loving without chaining your happiness to outcomes. Imagine loving someone wholeheartedly, yet not collapsing if they disagree, not breaking if they withdraw, not demanding they act as your source of joy. Such love is strong because it flows from a steady center, not from fluctuating desires. This is the art of inner transformation, to cultivate peace within so that you bring peace to others, to master your emotions so that your presence heals instead of harms. When you sit in meditation each morning, you are not escaping life. You are preparing yourself to live it rightly. You are training the heart to expand, the mind to focus, the soul to radiate. And in this way, every relationship you touch becomes blessed by your inner harmony. Words are not mere sounds. They carry vibration, energy, consciousness. A harsh word spoken in anger can wound more deeply than a sword, while a gentle word spoken with love can heal a long-buried scar. Yogananda urged us to make communication a sacred practice. Listen not with impatience, but with presence. Speak not to dominate, but to uplift. When you must tell a difficult truth, do so with kindness, firm, but never cruel. This is not weakness. It is divine strength. To communicate spiritually is to recognize that every conversation is an exchange of energy. If you argue merely to be right, you will win the battle but lose the bond. If you speak with humility and compassion, even disagreements can become stepping stones toward greater understanding. Conflict, then, is not a curse but an opportunity. When two souls face a challenge with openness, they discover new depths of patience, forgiveness, and growth. Try this in your relationships. Before you respond, pause and ask, am I speaking from the ego or from the soul? That small awareness transforms the quality of your words. And as your communication shifts, so too does the atmosphere of your home, your friendships, your partnerships. The vibration of love is contagious. When you cultivate it in speech, you invite others to do the same. Relationships come in many forms: romantic, familial, professional, social, and each carries unique lesson for the soul. Yogananda taught that in romance, seek not only passion, but spiritual companionship. Two bodies may meet in attraction, but unless two souls also walk together toward God, the bond will remain incomplete. True partnership is when both inspire one another to grow, to forgive, to meditate, to serve. In families, remember that karmic ties bring souls together not by accident but by divine design. A difficult parent, a stubborn sibling, a wayward child. These are not random burdens but sacred opportunities for patience, compassion, and healing old debts of the soul. Extend forgiveness, not because they deserve in the worldly sense, but because your soul deserves peace. With friends and colleagues, bring the same awareness. Do not exploit, gossip, or manipulate. Instead, cultivate sincerity, respect, and service. Even in professional spaces, you can radiate spiritual presence by honesty, by calmness, by goodwill. When you see every relationship as a thread woven into the divine tapestry of your soul's evolution, you stop resisting and start learning. Each bond becomes a teacher, and every person a messenger of spirit in disguise. In our age of endless distractions, sustaining deep relationships is harder than ever. The constant pull of devices, the flood of messages, the noise of social media, all of these scatter our attention and weaken our presence. Yogananda reminds us that presence is the greatest gift you can offer. To sit with your loved one in silence, to meditate together, to truly listen without glancing at a screen. These simple acts nourish bonds more than 1,000 hurried words. Daily habits matter. A shared prayer before sleep, a kind word in the morning, a moment of gratitude during meals. If spiritual paths differ, do not demand conformity. Let your peace be your persuasion. True magnetism flows not from debate, but from radiance. And remember, relationships are not the end goal. The ultimate purpose is self-realization. The more you commune with God, the more joy you radiate outward, and that joy becomes a foundation for every bond. In this way, even in a restless world, you can build relationships that are strong, serene, and soul-guided. For love that flows from spirit never fades. It deepens with time, expands without limit, and leads every soul homeward to the divine. My friends, Remember always, love all, serve all, forgive all, and see God in all. In this lies the eternal key to harmonious relationships and everlasting joy.